Good morning, departure VinJet 379, Juliet Mike 1.5 for 3,000 and the turn to 090.
379 Juliet Mike, turn right heading 140.
Right turn 140, Juliet Mike.
379 Juliet Mike, turn right heading 180.
Right turn 180, Juliet Mike. Clear for takeoff, runway 19, 379 Juliet Mike.
Airbus 320.
Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. Just want to show you something while we're in flight here. We're currently about 1 hour and 2 minutes into the flight here, flight level 270 in the Cirrus SF50 Vision Jet. We're flying to the northeast with an indicated airspeed of 185, a true airspeed 289, and of course a ground speed of 321 knots as a result of a 30-knot tailwind. I just want to show you guys a little bit about the avionics of this aircraft. Of course, you have the primary flight display, or PFD, over here, which can be split or left full screen. Over here you have the multifunction display, or MFD. This is the engine information strip here. It tells us pressurization information, status of the flaps, status of the landing gear, current trim condition. Currently we've got -1 degrees of trim, which is pretty standard in cruise flight. We can see generation 1 and 2 here, or generator 1 and 2 here, and then of course we have battery 1 and 2 here. Our fuel system, our gallons per hour, showing a burn rate of 60 gallons per hour. Our N1 fan is turning in about 91%, N2 at 93. Our ITT is 743. The oil temperature is 92 degrees Celsius, and oil pressure is 76 PSI. Looking at the roll trim, looks pretty good. Everything looks good. Everything looks great. Now, there's some things that I can do here. This is GTC1, Garmin Touch Controller 1, GTC2, GTC3. GTC3.
379 Juliet Mike, contact Center on 125.07.
2507, 9 Juliet Mike, have a great one. So as I was saying, this is the comms controller for nav comms and voice comms, of course. So we'll switch that up. Now we're active on this new frequency. Indy Center VinJet 379 Juliet Mike, smooth ride at flight level 270.
379 Juliet Mike, Indy Center, roger.
All right, so that looks good. And again, this is NavCom on GTC2. GTC3. Now, if it's got bumpy, we can switch it. We can put make this a PFD controller over here, and make this a NavCom controller here. Now we control radios here, and control this over here. But in most conditions, I like to have NavCom on GTC3 and PFD control on GTC1. We just crossed the Henderson VOR and making a slight turn to a heading of 063 or so for our next fix along the flight plan route, which is the Williamsport VOR Foxtrot Quebec Mike. And it shows it's 286 miles away from us at this point. So here's some things that we can do in flight. Let's split the PFD display. Currently we got our descent checklist showing up here to the right. We don't need it because we're not in that phase of flight yet. And of course, this is our instruments for indicated airspeed, altitude, and of course flight director. We got a scoreboard up top. Autopilot's on. We're using GPS for navigation and steering. Yaw damp's on. Altitude set and locked at flight level 270. Down here we've got some information that we're going from the Hotel November VOR to the Foxtrot Quebec Mike VOR, and we should be there in about 53 minutes and 34 seconds. So I want to conduct a VOR check airborne. This is something good to do. So step 0 would be to take the pane controller, which is this big knob here, move it from there to here, and then we want to go to nearest. It's going to either give us a nearest airport, nearest intersection, a GPS fix, if you will, VOR, NDB, and some other stuff like that.
1799.
Let's go VOR. I usually select a VOR that is approximately 50 miles from my current location or greater. Let's look at York, Yankee, Romeo, Kilo, on a frequency of 112.80. Let's make nav 1 and 2 active that frequency. And currently that VOR is on a heading of 265 degrees from our position behind us and about 55.1 miles. So what we'll do is go over here to the PFD and look here. We'll set up our bearing 1 for nav 1. And of course it's not showing anything because that VOR is not putting out anything. Let's try Zanesville. 114.95 on nav 1 and 2. And looks like we do have a working VOR here. So we got essentially the Zanesville, Ohio VOR, 63.5 miles away from us on a heading of 003 from our position.
Spirit 1799, clear direct hold.
All right, so we got a cyan arrow showing the position to that VOR. Set up bearing 2 on nav 2. And now we have a second blue arrow pointing to that VOR. Now we look down here to indicate nav 1 and 2 are both on the same frequency. They're both showing 62.3 nautical miles and 360 degrees from that VOR. So we know that the error between the nav 1 and 2 radios is 0. We also see that finally the VOR has been identified as Zulu Victor versus just a frequency. So that's how we know. That's again, use step 0, go in and bring up a VOR and do a VOR check. Say for instance you want to do something on the MFD. So right now it's in the full screen. We'll go half. The standard information screen's up right now. Shows us various bits of information, including the current ISA conditions, weight of the aircraft based on our takeoff weight, and density, altitude, and so forth like that. It also, based on this current weight, is calculating our landing distances and our VREF speed of 85 knots into Laconia, New Hampshire, which is good information. But that's a long ways from now. That's an hour and 42 minutes before we need to worry about that. So let's go step 0, move the pane controller over to the screen that we want to manipulate. And I would like to look at the infrared camera. So we brought that up here. And we can see the clouds because there's some temperature variations in the clouds and such like that. We can also see that our flight path is above those clouds. So really no concerns with that. So if we just want to look at maybe the icing protection system and we want to see the status of that. Remember step 0, put the pane control in the right spot. It is indicated by the blue box. And let's look at the camera system here, and we are. And let's look at icing protection now, and give us our outside air temperature and generally the status using the icing protection system synoptics page. And we can do the same thing with the electrical system. We can look at the environmental and pressurization system, look at the status there as well. And at any point if we want to bring up the map to full screen again, remember step 0, big dial here on GTC2, move it to the pane we want to expand and go full, and we can do that. We can split it again, and again, step 0, move to the pane we want to look at, and I say I want to expand that to full screen. That's one I can't expand to full screen, sorry about that. It's got a limitation, it won't let you do it. But now that we're done with that, we can maybe look at weather selection, radar, and let's get the radar going. And of course, based upon the way it's currently set up, we don't have anything to show. So we'll put it down to about down 5 degrees. at, let's go 60 miles or so. And at about 20 miles out, we can start seeing the ground. That's indicated by the green. Then higher or rising terrain is indicated by the other colors.
1799, contact Indy Center.
If that happened to be precipitation, it would be depicted using this color scale here, from light to heavy. But we're basically looking at the ground. So let's take this and dial this up to about, I like to use about 2.5 in cruise flight. 2.5 degrees up.
1080, roger. Yeah, the best rides have been 28 and below. If you get annoyed with that, we can try a little lower. Might be better.
Since we don't have any weather,
sounds good to me.
based upon our cruising altitude, we're not going to get any radar returns. In this case, no news is good news. So we'll put the radar back on standby using the GTC controller. Let's go home. And maybe we want to look at a chart. So remember step 0, you got to look at where this pane is, because what you're about to do next is going to send that information to where you have it highlighted. So step 0, bring it over here. That's where I want it. Go to our chart selection here, and it's going to default to airport information in Laconia, New Hampshire. The airplane knows we're going there, so when you go to chart selection, it brings up the information page for the airport first, so we can look at everything we need to know. We can zoom in and out if we wanted to, and so forth. Now, I previously looked at weather, and I know that weather in Laconia is kind of gusty conditions, variable winds, quite variable winds. Winds are variable from like 240 to 340, 100 degrees of variation, and some gusty conditions up to 23 knots right now. So,
level 330.
But in any case, that wind condition favors the RNAV approach for runway 26 or 26. So we'll go to chart selection, approach, RNAV runway 26, and it will bring up the RNAV approach for runway 26. Again, since this box has been highlighted, we can zoom in and out. Now, if there's some reason where I want to view this full screen, again, step 0, that's what I want to expand. Go to full screen, and now I can see the chart full screen here.
Afternoon, Indy Delta 901.
So, that's how you can do that, but let's split it again.
I guess I don't have anything smooth then, because the best rides have been 28 and below all morning.
Zoom out. And that's how we can basically look at an approach plate. Just keep viewing our maps. Got the engine information system or screen information.
379 Juliet Mike, contact Cleveland 125.42.
2542, 9 Juliet Mike. Have a great one.
You too.
Good afternoon, Cleveland Center, VinJet 379 Juliet Mike, flight level 270 and smooth ride.
379 Juliet Mike, please and roger.
All right, cool. So, so we got the engine information system there showing. So we got everything we need there. We're set up for our descent checklist, but again, we're an hour and 36 minutes out of Laconia, so we don't need that right now. And of course, we're looking at all the engine, the flight conditions, such as our airspeeds and such like that.
2507,
Let's expand this. And now we can look at it full screen. If we decide to split it, and say I want to bring up an emergency checklist or something like that, bring the GTC controller over here. The pane controller. Let's go to checklist. Let's go to an emergency procedure, say engine failure in flight. That'll bring up this emergency procedure for an engine failure in flight. We know that once we go through these items, these are memory items. We're going to basically pitch for 120 to 200 knots. We're going to turn the direction of a landing site. Again, we have no engine, so we want to make sure we're pointing the airplane in the direction of a landing site. We can look at the map and kind of get an indication of what's close to us right now. And then of course, if we're above 15,000 feet, we want to don the oxygen mask. And then, of course, you have to turn the mic switch on in the mask to make sure that works. From there, you know, that leads you to the next thing, and you're like, well, I'm getting N1 rotation, which means I can probably restart this engine, do an air start. So American Emergency Procedures air start. That brings it up over here.
696, contact Cleveland on
And you can do an air start. Again, you want to pitch for an airspeed 120 to 200 knots.
96, good day.
You have to be below 18,000 feet to do an air start in this plane. You want to have the thrust lever on idle. And then just follow the rest of the checklist. So that's how you can kind of look at different checklists during the flight. I'm going to go back to the normal checklist here. It'll default to where I last was, which is on descent. Step 0, move the pane controller back to the map. And go full screen over here. And that's how we do it. Hope this information helps you guys. Again, PFD, MFD, GTC1, GTC2, GTC3, and how those can be manipulated. Thanks for watching.
I really appreciate you watching the channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the videos. Also, click on the notification bell so you'll be the first to be notified when new videos are posted. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to send your emails, comments, and feedback. My goal is to provide even better content for you as we continue to grow the channel. Until next time, safe flying, and we'll see you on the next flight.